Drink tank. Whatever, this will work. I don't give a.
Let's try that again.
Hey everybody. Welcome to another episode of Drink Tank, where we just got done seeing what Sydney Sweeney's second comedy of the year, right behind You're the Worst, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
We just saw Madam Web. So we'll start off as we usually try to do. We'll do spoilers.
It was my birthday gift from Derek.
Yes.
I demanded
Birthday
that
curse.
we see Madam Web.
the old.
It was half serious, and then we did it because.
Yes, because.
Let's try that again.
So, yeah. So as always, we'll try and go spoiler-free, our initial impressions, and then we're going to dive into spoilers.
Also, Madam Web is a movie made by Sony Entertainment.
It's a regular Sony project.
A regular Sony project about a loosely based on a comic book character from the 90s who could see the webs of the future.
Right.
And she was this old, blind, crippled Chinese lady, I believe.
Sure.
And so they cast Dakota Fanning for her.
Dakota Johnson.
Let's try that again.
All right, so Madam Web is a film about an ancient Chinese woman who is blind and paralyzed.
God.
And that's the comic book. So in the movie, it's played by Dakota Fanning.
Oh, God. You know what? We just went over this. All right, go on. Keep going.
Well, like all rewinds, it has to happen 3 or 4 times in that movie.
We'll get to that. We will get to that.
Anyway, it's about this woman who slowly discovers she has the ability to see into the future, but
Right.
not particularly well or at a particularly long distance.
Yeah.
And not particularly helpfully. Although I guess, she saves a pigeon. Oh, well, that's a spoiler. That's probably the most important thing that happens in the movie.
No. When we jump into spoilers, bring that pigeon back up.
Okay. So, basically it's about a woman who finds out that she has the powers to see the future and uses them to help save some girls.
Yes, she sees she gets, her mother was in the, Peruvian Amazon studying spiders, and she's betrayed by the guy doing research with her, and smash cut 20 years into the future. I'm not even sure,
30.
Well, yeah, what was it? Oh, yeah, it was 1973 to 2003.
Yeah.
So anyways, the daughter of the woman who was researching
Dakota
the spiders.
Fanning's that old now?
She is suddenly able to see the future, like you said. She is tasked with saving our 3 main characters.
She's the main character.
Yeah, she's the main character. And then that's it.
Well, so production-wise, it is a Marvel Comics property. Well, hold on. Sony bought all of the Spider-Man characters in early 2000s, and then they only relinquished Spider-Man to the MCU in 2018 in exchange for a boatload of money.
And I don't think Marvel Studios is involved in this at all.
No, it's not. But it is a Marvel property, or was a Marvel. It is a Marvel property. It's just a comic book character that they have the movie rights to.
All right.
And it is, and they do loosely connect it. For some reason, they spent a lot of time connecting it to the Spider-Man universe, which doesn't make sense because this takes place in 2003.
Right.
And
let's try that again.
So, Madam Web is a story about a woman who dresses like a spider who wants to start a brothel.
Ooh.
And she hires first Sydney Sweeney.
Let's try that again.
So, yeah. So the movie is, that's all it is. That's really all it is. And then she's playing keep away with a guy who can... who's hunting them down and trying to kill them. And so then she just plays keep away. And the movie devolves into some kind of chaotic nightmare after that. We won't get into it now. I will ask you, do you recommend this movie?
Oh, yeah. I recommend you go, you pay the money, you watch it in the theaters, you give it more of a box office than Morbius so that they make a sequel.
Well, it was written by the two guys who did Morbius as well. They were writers on this.
There were men on this movie?
There were. Not as memeable, though.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you. I recommend this movie. As I started it, like I said, it's one of the best comedies I've seen in a long time.
But if you're gonna watch this movie, definitely do it with a friend and do it somewhere you can yell and laugh and talk. Because
yes,
we kept trying to.
We were trying
not to talk.
We were trying.
We did a pretty good job. We did not do a good job of not laughing.
We did not do a good job of not laughing. But
there was one point that was just like 30 seconds of us cracking up, and I'm sure the rest of the theater was just really annoyed with us.
I am pretty sure that one guy in the gray hoodie in the row in front of us got up like 30 minutes in and never came back. I don't remember seeing him come back.
That is funny.
Like, I really don't remember. But there were like, what, 6 people in the theater?
About that.
Yeah.
Which is more than I thought. At 2:30 on a Valentine's Day?
Yeah. And to be honest, nobody was laughing as hard as we were.
Oh, no, I don't think anyone else would laugh.
But they should have been.
I don't think anyone else even laughed.
They should have been. So yes, get your buddies together, see it. Like I said, like you said, we did a pretty good job pretending like we weren't at home, but at a certain point, we just had to like give in. Like I was like, I laughed so hard one time, I'm like slapping my leg. It was essentially that scene in Cape Fear. That was me in the movie at one point. I couldn't help it. There were so many. The dialogue in this film is so exceptionally bad and poorly delivered that like simple lines became the height of comedy for me.
Well, before we get into spoilers, we can talk about first the marketing. So all throughout January, I'd have a YouTube video playing in the background because I was working on a little project, and like every single YouTube video was playing Madam Web trailers.
Right.
Madam Web, and it wasn't trailers. It was showing the actresses talking about Madam Web.
Madam Web's a different type of superhero story.
Which is not, it is marketing, but I don't know if that's how you want to, it wasn't particularly bad. Like they were talking about it in a fairly positive way.
Okay.
But you could kind of tell it was like buzzwords they were fed.
Webs.
Because Dakota Fanning and Sweeny Todd were both using
Webs.
kind of the same
Prepackaged words, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like that anyway. And then at February, advertising dried up. So, I was like, why would you stop advertising the movie 2 weeks before it comes out, rather than like it just didn't make sense to me. So the advertising was a clusterfuck, which made me think this would be a fun movie.
Right.
And now you know a little bit more about the production.
Yeah. So the production was infamously troubled. They were originally trying to make this its own thing, so that way it was going to be at first unrelated to any Spider-Man properties, and then they did some research to try and connect it to Spider-Man properties, but they had already tried to set it, I believe at first it was in the 90s.
Yes.
So then to try and connect it to even the most modern of Spider-Man, like Tom Holland's, they'd have to age it up a bit, so that's why it's in the 2000s, but because they had filmed so much stuff with the 90s aesthetic, they kind of like were like, those 2000s is as far as we can go kind of mentality. But I don't know that much about. I do know that Dakota Johnson fired her talent agency a week after the trailer dropped. So, and then she has this quote saying like they filmed so much on a green screen, she has no idea what she filmed and if it's any good. And
really?
Yeah, so it wasn't that great. And as to why you, instead of doing trailers, because the first trailer was destroyed by the internet.
I don't understand what's happening.
That's probably why they stopped showing
I
trailers.
heard there was a specific quote that got destroyed. But anyway.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, the trailer itself is pretty bad. And then, well, if you're interviewing the cast members, they're pretty ladies. And they're allowed to do their interviews in their makeup and nice dresses. Like the premiere, I don't know if you saw a picture of them at the premiere, but I very much approve. And
Boy. Derek, you're almost 40.
Yeah, what can I say? And I think probably that's why they were doing more of like talk to them off camera, because it's like, oh, here's some pretty girls to tell you about a movie. You're more likely to go see the movie. But like Sydney Sweeney's very popular.
She's very popular for reasons that
internet wants to see her naked. That makes you popular.
But they have dozens of times.
Doesn't matter. They're perverts. They want to see it again and again and again and again and again. But yeah, so it was a troubled production, and it very much comes across that way in the movie. And so you shouldn't be surprised that when something has possibly 3 iterations of scripts and reshoots, smashing it together, that it's not going to mesh very well.
No.
But I think even if you had really good scripts, it doesn't explain the bad acting and because that's all on the hands. That's like a lot of the flatline delivery. Like the director's got to step up and take some responsibility for that.
100%. I've always thought that bad acting is usually the director's fault, but there are some actors who go to their talent agent, who get their manager to come in and go, they're not doing another shot.
Yeah, I don't know if this was necessarily the case.
No, I think it was. I think it was just the production.
I think the production got too expensive. They probably couldn't afford to do a second shot, maybe at times, and that's where it's really important to have like.
You're telling me it's going to cost more money to shoot an extra scene in front of the green screen? Oh, there's mocap shooters better.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That's funny though, because it doesn't feel like too much green screen to me.
Probably a lot of that stuff got chopped. Like, I mean,
Fair enough.
There's only so much. I mean, the CGI that's in it is barely passable, right? Like,
What do you mean? The spider guys looked amazing.
God, that spider guy jumping around. It's in
Anyway,
it's in the
yeah, so
trailer.
the
So yeah,
CGI,
so yeah. We got pretty far afield on that one, but yeah, it was a troubled production, and it is every bit kind of stitched together. So yeah, see it with your friends and realize you're gonna watch a hacker. Like if you like bad movies and you like really bad stilted wooden dialogue, it is such a good movie for bad dialogue. So
I think this is a good time to move into spoilers.
so we're gonna move into spoilers.
Now, before this started, I was sitting in my car waiting for Derek, and I decided to make like a little, it's not a bingo board, but a couple bingo.
Like a checklist.
Yeah.
Like let's just see how many of these show up.
And, villain is a white man.
Incorrect.
And I was going to write rich white man,
Yep.
but incorrect. That wasn't a white dude.
Dude, his name was.
Ezekiel Sims.
Oh God, we just saw it and I can't even remember. No, he was the Hispanic guy, right? He was a Peruvian.
The hell he was not Peruvian.
Yes, he was. That's why he was in Peru. He was
No,
her
he was
hired
paying
gun.
for her.
No, she paid him. I thought he was a local Peruvian man. He's not white.
He looks kind of white.
He also doesn't really. Well, it's tough to tell what if
a lot of
he's.
Hispanics identify as white.
It's tough to tell if he was any nationality because half of his dialogue is ADR'd.
I don't. Okay, so we'll get back to that. I guess that Sydney Sweeney would be like her slutty best friend who was like, come on, let's go out. No, instead this 26-year-old woman played a 17-year-old high school girl who was a gentle lady up top, but a party lady down south.
Yeah, with that very short skirt.
This woman who's famously known for having giant cans.
Yeah, giant cans. They hide him.
They put her in a shirt, a full-blown shirt goes up to her neck. That's fine. They put her in glasses, so you know she's ugly, or nerdy or something.
She's all that.
They make her a redhead. I don't know if she is or not.
She's
honestly.
not in real life. I don't think.
I wouldn't know at this point. And then they put her in the shortest skirt possible, and it's like, why are you like? I didn't understand
And
that.
the high boots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I
no.
didn't understand why they would, because she's
Yeah.
like, I want to be a serious character. Okay, great. And then, but this skirt. Let's give you this skirt, and it's like I get, but she played a fucking she played a 17-year-old nerd.
Yeah, and she was like very cautious of everything and very submissive to like the group dynamics. Like
The group dynamic.
Yeah, she had like
which was fine.
She just wanted to be liked.
I was guessing she'd be the slutty best friend. Anyway,
That was a miss.
I had I know. Well, this is the bingo card. I had that there would be doubt from close friends if she has powers, but is proven right.
I knew he was gonna die.
No one doubted her.
Whoa! Holy crow!
Yeah.
There's like she has to convince the girls, but it like
I can see the future. Oh, what the hell?
hardly
Barely.
needs any convince. It's super easy.
They're 17-year-old girls.
Oh my
You
god!
can convince them of anything,
You're right.
and that's why he went to jail that one time.
2 times.
I guess there would be training montages with her best friend.
No. No training montage at all.
I guess there'd be a blind mentor to see the future.
Well, she ends up becoming the blind mentor.
Right, she becomes the blind
Yeah.
mentor, but she didn't have one.
You thought she would have
her
one to teach you.
mentorship lasted half a minute.
Her mentorship was some guy pushing her
Who
soul.
was clearly not Peruvian. You saw the locals in the bus. They did not look like that guy.
I don't know what that guy. Well, that guy's just one of the Spider-Men.
was like-
One of the Spider
The
people.
spider people had red flesh.
No,
and like
that was paint.
no, it wasn't.
It was paint.
They had like barbed wire
Nah.
webs in them.
I can't explain the mesh webbing costume that they had, but that was war paint.
All right, well, a group of women team up to take down the villain implausibly. No.
No, that didn't
Although
happen
in
either.
the future that he saw, they teamed up to take him
no
down.
longer exists.
Which no longer exists.
Right. Huh.
Yeah, and it was just her protecting them, so that didn't happen.
That's so. Oh my God, you're right.
Woman surprisingly ends up being villain mastermind? Nope.
No, that didn't happen either.
I guess there would be a wacky lesbian who says the word patriarchy at some point.
You did, and I you know, and I agreed with you.
There was not.
Nothing.
Ah, but this one was right. Indie sounding woman band songs.
Oh, so many times. That's the whole soundtrack.
Well, a lot of them were very famous, but,
Yeah, but
the
still.
first one sounded indie.
Yeah.
Gets sent home from job for seeing an illness/tragedy that people disbelieve.
She was kind of forced to take a small leave of absence when she couldn't
After-
save the what was that, the captain or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you get credit. I'll say that one counts.
And then I said that a man has to eat crow after she's proven right. Didn't
Never
happen.
happened. There was no comeuppance for really anyone.
So realistically, it didn't hit a lot of those points. It didn't do what I expected, which
Right.
I wouldn't really care about if they did.
Okay.
But I expected more social justice points, if you will.
I did too.
Which
Yeah. We didn't really
sometimes
get
they're
in.
forced, sometimes they work, and in this one they didn't even exist.
They didn't exist. So
You know,
yeah,
that's a positive for it. It didn't go to the expected place in terms of that.
I will say you are right, because this movie is essentially a giant prologue for hopefully the next Spider Gal Pals, whatever they're going to do.
Spider gals.
Spider gals. Yeah.
And dressed up and shooting webs.
I don't know.
I can't rhyme.
I don't know.
Getting dressed up.
Yeah, so you're right. There really aren't a lot of plot beats in the movie, I would say, that aren't just go here, go here, go here.
Right. They spent a surprising amount of time playing. Since we're in spoilers, I can talk about it finally.
Yeah.
Playing Spider-Man references. Her partner is Ben.
Oh yeah, Ben Parker.
Ben. Well, Did they ever say Parker?
Oh yes, they did.
Okay.
Several times.
All right.
Or at least once at the beginning. Remember, because she's talking to the kid, and oh no, it was actually Ben Parker who did it.
Right.
Give him the drawing.
And her partner is Ben Parker, who at one point does say, "Oh no, he does not the one that says responsibility."
He gets no line about that. He says to her at one point, "I'm dating someone," or "I met someone." She's like, "Ooh, what's her name?" And he just stares at her.
Yeah, he
She's
doesn't
like,
say anything at
"Must
all."
be serious." So that you implied the romance between them.
Well, that's 2 times they did don't name anyone,
Yeah.
because she also ends up getting sucked into a baby shower, and she has no desire to be next
By
to women
Ben's sister.
because she's a pick me. so she doesn't
Sister-in-law.
wanna- Yeah.
Sister or sister-in-law?
Let's try that again.
And they play a game at the
Guess the baby's name.
guess the baby's name, and no one guesses it. She's like, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
And they never actually guess it. You're like, okay, she's going to say Peter because she's going to realize she's going to have like one of those little brain memories from the future.
Right, yeah,
Wrong.
'cause
They
they
don't
loop
even do
that.
that, which is fine.
Those brain loops take up way too much time.
Oh my god. So in terms of Spider-Man, still,
Oh yeah.
at one point, the guy that she flies off to meet in Peru
Right.
says, "You have great."
Oh, when you accept great power, then you gain, or great responsibility, then you get power, or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
And we were like,
He reverses it.
Yeah,
Whoa!
we sat there in the theater like shrugging. I already knew that line.
No, I think
was-
that's one of the ones we laughed at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a line that I knew was coming, but I
Right.
had no idea it was going to be so ham-fisted into such a non-important moment.
Right. And then everyone has like a vaguely Spider-Man outfit on.
Yep.
All the girls do, despite Spider-Man not existing by the point that they're
Yeah,
Spider-Women.
There's web stuff everywhere in this.
The man crawl guy, because they never name him.
Yeah, they call him Ceiling Man.
Ceiling Man.
Yeah.
And then I was like, give him a name, guys. Like, at least buffy it up and be like, I don't know, big bad crawl guy. Just something silly to make you like
Big Blue.
likable. Yeah. He looks like a spider. He looks like a Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
does not look like a spider.
No, he looks very much like a Spider-Man. So the implication then, of course, is that the future spider costumes are inspired by seeing him in a spider costume.
I guess, or
That's the
inspired
implication?
by the arancini down in Peru.
Yeah, the
You know, the little balls of rice.
Yes. Ooh. So that was pretty egregious. The Spider-Man references keep becoming egregious to the point of when the baby is born. They're like, "How's he doing?" And you and I walked out of the theater. I was like, "I thought he was going to say he's spectacular," and you said, "Oh, I thought they would say the baby's amazing." You know, like that kind of nonsense. There's even a part where they're like, Ben says he likes being an uncle. It's all the fun and none of the responsibility.
Yes, they said responsibility
And at this
again.
point, like Madam Web in her full powers is like, little does he know. Kind of like it's just so stupid.
But so the movie, like,
Ugh.
oh my god. So those are all the Spider-Man references, I think.
There may have been a few we missed, but
Yeah, I'm sure there are. But you know, so
my brain shut off periodically.
But when it comes down to, oh, this is a mess. It's like I can keep seeing the future of what I want to talk about, and then I have to rewind.
Yeah, well, the movie does its rewind stuff so poorly, and this is really bad timing because this is hot on the heels of the holiday Groundhog's Day, so I rewatched the movie, and the way they do loops and re-looping and stuff like that. Now, granted, this isn't a time travel thing. It's not a re-loop, but she can see possible outcomes. She can see possible outcomes based on it. So in theory, you could have almost an infinite number of resets.
Right.
And that's what the guy implies at the end. It's like once you master this power, you'll have...
Once you master it, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have the scene where she really first comes into it, which is, when are we getting to the fireworks factory?
Oh, literally at a fireworks warehouse. That's not even a joke.
So the first scene that we see her powers, she goes they're at this fireworks factory downtown. There's a multiple casualty event with a fire.
Really bad.
She gets down there and she's giving chest compressions and she just keeps looping at like random intervals into like conversations that are happening in the future.
Yeah.
And then it loops back and like I'm more confused than she must be at that point. And I'm like, okay, the fireworks factory is gonna blow up because they keep talking about it. They're like, we're sending men in there. Oh no, it might blow up. And you think, oh, she's gonna stop that.
Yeah.
And they keep red herring you on that.
It turns out a guy's just gonna drive away and get T-boned.
Yeah.
What was that? How about, you remember when she sees him walking to the ambulance and she's like, oh, this must be how he dies. So she stops doing compressions on the man on the ground and she's like,
and he goes, thanks.
Yeah, she's like, you'll be okay. And he's just like,
no, he like says something, I think.
I don't think he says
okay.
The other guys come and like put him on a stretcher and wheel him out.
I thought he said something.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But like, it's so bad. It's just.
When do you stop doing the compressions? Never.
Never. Yeah. Oh my god. So all the girls end up.
Oh, we haven't even mentioned the girls.
Yeah, there's not much to say about the girls.
There's a guy who has a vision that 3 girls murder him.
Yes, the
like,
bad guy.
brutally.
The bad guy has a vision of being brutally murdered by 3 women in spider costumes, and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to just sit and wait for that to happen." He goes,
It's more like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for that to happen.
"Oh my god, I know." Like,
I don't know if they ADR'd his voice, but it felt like they ADR'd every single line of his.
there was that one part where he's talking to the woman, like when she's like, all right, so he seduces this woman from the NSA and steals their facial recognition technology and stuff like that, which it happens off screen, because otherwise, like, that's a lot to steal.
That's fine.
Yeah, but he can get glimpses of the future too. Couldn't he, like, in theory, have learned to master that and find out where they'd be at any given moment?
Glimpses, but remember, he's cursed. I believe his curse
Because
is
the spider's
fake visions.
seeing it. Yeah, his spider is all the spiders are also magic. So
Well, and his spider would hate him.
yeah, I think it did, and it clearly set him on a path to his own death. If we're believing that, like,
You're welcome. We're talking very coherently right now.
Yeah, the movie's not this coherent. But if you think the curse is the spider is going to lead him to his own death eventually, it sort of does, which I guarantee you the scriptwriters never thought of. We're giving this too much credit. Moral of the story is he perfectly memorizes what the girls look like even without their masks on. So they're able to...
Well, he sees them every single night, he said.
But he doesn't see them without their masks.
But he sees them under their masks, and he like.
No, he
if
doesn't.
he's had it every
They don't
night.
they don't take their
So it's
masks
been
off.
but no. But he draws them and then interpolates it. I guess.
Yeah, I guess
he's
so.
seen it every single night for 30 years.
Yeah, I
literally.
get it. But it's not like they don't cut to a drawing of it. They cut to like a pretty high tech police sketch of it.
Right,
I guess,
but what if he'd
it
hired a
doesn't
police
matter.
person, or he'd been drawing it himself, like Parker on Leverage?
Yeah.
What? Everyone can't do this.
So they end up finding all the girls in the train station, and then that nonsense happens. And then
The nonsense being that Cassandra, that Madam Webb, rescues the girls.
Yeah, and then
off the train.
The one girl's like, she's kidnapping us, and then now the police are on their thing, and nobody saw the spider guy murder everybody, so they ignore that.
Well, the spider guy, who is capable of snapping necks like this, as he does to several police officers.
Yes, and to the women in possible futures.
And who is capable of leaping forward at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour.
Right.
He slowly, menacingly crawls towards them, and then instead of killing them, kills a bystander, kills the police, drags him out onto the decks.
Gets in front of them to kill someone else, and then gets behind them again to menacingly walk.
Yes, and then he does this multiple times. Every time he's near the women.
Every time he's near the women.
Until the end.
Dude, he does it in the diner. First thing he does is kill a guy in a booth for no reason. And then at the end, Madam Webb has the gall to tell Ben he won't be interested in killing you now that he's seen us. It's like that has not been his modus operandi.
Well, he also picks one of the girls up, and instead of snapping her neck, he's like, I'm going to inject poison into you for 30 seconds. And you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, because he can inject poison by touching him.
I was like, why not just go...
Yeah. And apparently he can speak to Dakota Johnson's character in dreams, and they do it once. It's their Rey and Kylo Ren moment from
And
Last
he
Jedi.
can speak to animals. Well, not speak to them, but he could take orders from them.
What?
Oh, that was Dakota Fanning, which opened the window for the pigeon.
Oh, yeah.
So he kidnaps these, or he attacks these women multiple times, failing both times. The second time, I didn't like at a diner. I liked how she saved them.
It was
fine.
I wish it was put together a little more.
Well, she had a flash forward where she totally fails and they get killed, and then she's like, okay, he doesn't know this coming.
Yes.
And when he has a conversation with her in the diner, we don't know that he's having the dream.
Oh,
it could just be
she
her.
has the dream,
right? So we don't know that he actually got any information out of that. It could have just been her getting information from a potential conversation.
In any event, if they had used them dream talking to each other a little more, I think it would have added a lot more menace to the villain. I think I would have liked that. Just because it only happens once, and then the immediate result of it, she's like, I've got to go to Peru.
And a dream conversation, the ADR would make sense.
It would. Yeah, I know, it really would. So she goes down to Peru, and she meets the guy who gave birth to her, and he soul punches her into a well, and her well of ascension, hey-oh, and she masters her power instantly, and comes back to New York now. And this is another thing that really bothers me, because that part doesn't bother me because I'm like, sure, why not? Just do it. What do I care anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not invested. Like, just show me goofy stuff. But then she goes back to New York and she's like, I better go find the girls. So she had stolen a taxi cab.
She ripped the plates off this taxi.
But none of the medallion numbers.
And spent the rest of this movie driving the taxi around as if not having plates doesn't get more suspicion than having plates.
And then she especially keeps driving it after she drives it through the front of the diner and it's all smashed up.
So it's got this hood that's all crumbled. And then she goes down to Peru.
She goes down to Peru
for a week.
They tell us this. They tell us it's a week.
And she drives the taxi cab to the house that the girls are at. Where did she put the taxi in airport long-term parking?
Who didn't find just like a taxi sitting there at an airport? And this is 2003. This is only 2 years after 9/11. Nobody's going to notice, like a taxi cab sitting in an airport, like it's going to get noticed. And no, without plates. No, it was terrible. And then
maybe she parked it at a dump yard.
Yeah, it would make more sense. But even then, like, oh, it was terrible. And then, so she left the girls under Ben's watch, and Ben is living with the sister-in-law until just in case anything happens while his brother's on assignment.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she's like, I'm going to give birth. And he's like, all right. All four of you in the car. It's like they are like 17-year-old girls who are being hunted. Leave them at home.
Right.
And they don't need to go with you. There's no realistic reason for them to get in the car with you, except for the fact that one of them looks out a window, the face gets recognized, and bad guy comes through, leading to quite possibly the moment that had me laughing. One of the hardest is where she steals so Dakota Johnson steals the ambulance, right? And she drives it through a parking structure, through a billboard, and clears the top of the car by a good 20 feet, even though that area of impact showed that it was gonna hit the car.
Okay.
And instead it prevents the bad guy from dropping a grenade in the car. He has to jump to the side, it blows up a separate car. And I was like, there's no way that ambulance had enough speed to go through a barrier, a billboard, and still clear the park, the center area of the traffic. It was ridiculous.
The bus in Speed made 100-foot jump, dude.
Yes, and they cut it poorly in that too. So you see it drop, but
I'm saying buses can go 100 feet, an ambulance can.
I hated that. I was laughing so
real
hard.
Physics.
Yeah. God, I feel like there's a lot of oh God, there's some, the movie's not even subtle. Like as she's trying to deal with her having powers, they're like, go home, take a few days off, relax, rest, watch some movies. So she starts watching.
Watch some old movies, they said.
She watches A Christmas Carol. And it's exactly at the part where Scrooge is like, oh, specter of the future, please tell me I can change what I've seen.
Is this the future that will be or the future that might be? He's saying that on screen while she's walking around her apartment, microwaving popcorn and saving pigeons.
I know. It's so, God, this movie, oh, God, the writing is so bad.
Tell me, Spectre.
I know. I was laughing so hard.
That was when we died.
I laughed really hard. hard when they were
my God.
watching that.
That was so good.
It's just a perfect scene for it in case the movie. There's really not much of an arc except the girls start a little like infighty and they all learn to work together to. By the way, in this movie, Dakota Johnson dies twice. Ben has to save her at the beginning.
Right.
He has to give her CPR to save her, and then the three girls have to be a team to save her at the end.
So here's the thing. I didn't hate any of the characters though.
It's because they were just
Very
MacGuffins.
milquetoast, yeah.
So you had essentially Dakota Johnson is Sarah Connor, and then you've got three John Connors, and then the bad guy is the Terminator.
Kind of. But I mean, like I said, I didn't like the positives of the movie are I didn't hate any of the characters. I thought they would go ugh, and I didn't like the rich girl that they were saving, the one with the skateboard.
Oh yeah.
I didn't care for her, but they didn't keep playing up the
No.
I'm too cool for everything. It, like once they kind of talked about their background of how like their parents like didn't care about any of them.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, oh okay, they're just insecure, and it kind of made sense.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's just like the big confrontation. As we were getting close to it, I was like, you know what? At least this hasn't turned into a CGI clusterfuck, and I don't think how it could. And I can't really see how it could. And then they go.
Then they do.
Then we get to the fireworks factory.
Yes, all right, this is important because the fireworks factory used at the beginning of the film is where the finale takes place because, quote, it's full of explosives and very unstable. Excellent.
So Dakota Fanning calls a helicopter and asks them to meet her at the fireworks factory. And they go to the fireworks factory, at which point the plan is for Madam Web and all the girls to light flares and stick them in boxes, which would not instantly light up all these fireworks, I guess. And then once the fireworks did start, it wouldn't just blow up. That's not what fireworks factories do. So they jam
This was
all
a
these...
warehouse, not a factory, to be fair. They were already tightly packed.
Well, it'll make them blow up even faster. So they
Yeah, the
they
moment you
start
put that
jamming-
flare in, it'd be pretty terrible.
Not the moment, because they are in the boxes, so the box has to heat up first.
I can't believe that after a fire, in a week after the fire, nobody would think to like maybe clear out the warehouse. Like,
No.
it's structurally unsound and it's full
They
of
gotta
explosives.
store those things somewhere. They're just gonna go like, oh, let's open up this other warehouse and put fireworks in there. You want a second one burning down?
Okay, but I still feel like you probably don't just leave.
So they just start jamming flares into boxes, and then fires start. All these
Oh no,
things.
you're forgetting the best part.
No, hold on.
Is they pipe in fireworks sounds and explosions while they're in the building, but we see none of it and no flashes of light either at first. You're just hearing them go off because everything has to go off in one big explosion, so you couldn't show like the small.
Huh, I thought they did little small ones. Well, they definitely did like
They did like a
individuals and
side
stuff.
box exploding. at one
But so
point.
the villain comes in. They're like, "We're in a fireworks factory that's going off." The villain's like, "Well, I'm just gonna follow you." And so they run, and then she uses her power to make them all duck. And that's kind of cool. Like she's guiding them, and they're dodging all these explosions and stuff. She picks up a sheet metal to deflect a couple. I honestly thought that was pretty cool.
Except for the fact we established that those things could blow a hole in a brick wall.
Well, not if you angled and popped them off. Like I thought that was fine because she wasn't just like straight
It was
holding
okay.
them.
I mean, it was okay.
was-
It serves its purpose.
I thought it was a fine action sequence for a character that's not an action thing. It's just like a character who is seeing the future and
Very good.
adjusting it a little
right.
bit. I was like, okay, this works.
I'll allow it.
And then, yeah, I did too. But then the helicopter shows up and they're like, we're gonna need you to go south. And it's just kind of like hovering over this exploding factory. And I'm like, the first thing the helicopter would do is leave. They would clear out because you can't land a helicopter anywhere near us. The whole building is going up. And they're like, just come over here. And then the helicopter explodes, and I'm assuming all the EMTs on it die.
Good. I'm glad you mentioned that because earlier when you say she saves a pigeon, that's the only thing she saves. No, seriously, I think it's the only thing she saves. And I wanted to talk about the fact that her calling in that helicopter had a higher body count than we see even the villain have. And we watch him kill what? Only 3 people in the movie? He shoots 2, well, all right, 3
4.
in the beginning, 4, right? He shoots 3 people in the beginning and then he poisons one woman to death later.
Right.
Okay, she killed an entire group of EMTs.
Yes.
To say nothing of whoever was in that car when the grenade went off.
I believe that was
Yeah.
actually the parked cars on the side of the street.
You could be right.
It looked like it from my angle, but you know, whatever. Avengers, they're like, 1,000 people died. Oh, okay, pal.
Sure, buddies. So no, the only life she saves, I mean, except for the girls, I guess you could count that as saving them. But
I would.
All right, so then she saved 1 pigeon, 3 girls, and her body count is like 1. Let's assume there's 4 people in that helicopter, right?
She bagged them all?
Those are all dead. Oh, that's not her kill count.
You said body count.
So they're all dead, and then the bad guy's dead. So she has 5 deaths to 3 humans and 1 pigeon. So not very equitable trade.
And then after she gains the ability to see the future, you could argue that everyone's death is her fault.
That's fair.
Every single person who dies after that is on her hands.
The movie thought it was clever too, because at the beginning when her powers activate, there's like all the voices and all the things shown at once, and it literally shows you every plot beat they want to get to. And then they do it again near the end when she gets knocked into controller powers. So we've seen the same like dream sequence, future vision thing twice, and then it was just she gets blinded underwater.
Hold on, how did those girls get down from the top of the building?
Unclear.
Because I know she helps them back up. But she gets knocked into the water, fireworks are shooting at her.
Her helping them back up is so lame, because when they said you can be in many places at once, I'm like, cool. But it's like spectral, non-corporeal ghosts.
Well, everyone knows that's a spider-themed power.
Yeah, and so then, so 2 of them, it makes sense, because she's like, take my hand. And then for the one girl, she's like, you're going to be okay. You remember that? She was like tapping her on the shoulder. It's like, you'll be fine.
That's just all EMTs do.
Yeah. No, it was awful. Like
chest compressions, shoulder bumps.
I hated it. And you're right. How do they get down from the exploding building? Because if they could have got down from the exploding building the whole time, then...
Well, anyway, she gets exploded into the water, falls into the water.
The Pepsi Cola sign drags her in.
And she goes blind, and I believe she gets paralyzed probably because she's in the wheelchair.
She's in the wheelchair, so it's implied she's paralyzed.
And it ends with her... The girls all visiting her.
Oh, that excellent line in the hospital. I'm sorry, but are you family?
Yes.
They're all mine.
They're all mine.
And then the nurse walks out and she's like, slut.
How did she have triplets of different races?
I'm sure it's possible.
I don't think it is.
Well, improbable, not
with
impossible.
IVF, it is possible.
With ghost spider powers, all things
that's
are
true.
possible.
Spiders are known for having multi-ethnic kids.
Yeah. So yeah, that's.
But they visit her in the hospital. She's wearing the thing, which means she's clearly going to be blind. But then she's paralyzed. I didn't expect that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And then she's like, everything she says after that, she says with that little smirk of that like B movie, like C movie, just like I know.
I see our future. You girls would be so powerful. And
I know everything. Smirk.
Yeah,
and then she's like, I see all the girls, and it shows them beating people up with their powers, with their individual powers. Which one is like a Dr. Octopus spider.
Yeah, it's an iron spider.
They were not particularly pleasant looking.
It's important to note that the window she's staring out of is web themed, so it shows New York City caught in her web.
Yes,
which is again the movie not subtle.
So everyone that dies in New York is her fault.
So I want to end our discussion on. I just remembered what actually got us our biggest laugh.
What was it?
It is immediately after, what's his name, Ezekiel or whatever his name is.
That was his name.
Ezekiel gets hit by
I told you he was white.
He's not.
You can't.
He's Peruvian.
He is not Peruvian. He was not a local.
I'm telling you, I think he was from Peru.
Did you see the locals? Those 2 guys do not look like locals.
I'm almost
I did
positive
want to
he
say
was
that they
Peru.
really should have casted actual Peruvian people if they wanted Peruvians.
I don't know.
Because, like, why not?
But we're far afield from this because what I want to get at is he just gets smoked by a taxi. Right? And so he wakes up and he's like calling his lady in the chair and he's like, find me the girls. It's like, oh, I don't know where they're going, but I got to beat on the woman. He's like, I don't care about her. Oh, her name is Cassandra Webb. I don't care. She's the daughter of Constance Webb. And he's like, did you say Webb?
He's not like Constance Webb. He's like, did you say Webb?
Did you say Webb? And it's like, like yes, twice. And just a final thought on that. They had to name her Cassandra because naming her Charlotte would have been too obvious. So that's I think that's probably what we got for the review.
I still don't know when the whorehouse shows up. She's madam.
The Madame Web.
So I do actually want to say 1 or 2 more things.
All right.
Do they not hire they used to hire continuity people. I'm sure they still do.
I don't think
like,
so.
you know, I was watching Red Letter Media the other day, and they were talking about their experience on how they were on Never Been Kissed or some extras, and they were like, the guy called me up and said, you got to talk to the continuity people because I need to know what scenes you were in, where you were standing. We're gonna need to fix this. And so I suspect they still do have continuity issue for individual shots.
Right.
Maybe. But like they need. Why don't they have, like, where is that for the whole, they need timeline continuity issues. They need logic. They need someone to go by and look at the logic. Because that taxi plotline, the whole taxi. The taxi is a better character than some people in the movie.
The taxi,
and it is still, it is asinine.
The taxi is
absurd.
It's the perfect metaphor for the movie. Something that they thought, okay, well, it's functional. Does it make sense? I didn't say that.
It's cool because he's driving around a taxi.
What's more New Yorker than a taxi?
A white woman driving a taxi, so New Yorker.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there probably was an attempt at it, but as we discussed, you had, like, this movie had, what, like 4 writers, 3 story people. I don't know the director. I'd have to look at, but I don't think
just, you'd think they would go back and say this doesn't make sense.
You would, but
like logically, like this character is teleporting essentially because they wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't be able to travel like that.
No, you're right. No, it's
and it's lazy, it's sloppy, and they need to hire someone on each of these movies that at least like that has the final decision on things like that. Like no. I get that you want this to be in your movie. I get that you want the taxi, but you have to do it better.
Right.
You have to make, even if they just left the plates on it, it would at least make more sense because the cops aren't going to like read the plate of every car they're behind.
No, and especially like we were saying, this was only 2 years after September 11th.
Yeah.
And leaving a car unattended in an airport for a week with no plates.
Right.
And also, it would have been registered stolen by the taxi company, so running the medallion.
With the medallions, yeah.
I mean, just any of that would have got it. I mean, if she had showed up in a separate car, we would have been like, oh, that makes more sense.
Right.
There's no need for that level of laziness.
And that's
Is it laziness though, or is it apathy? Do you think? Do you think they just don't care?
I think sloppy is the right word because they're just like,
Yeah.
let's throw this together.
Yeah.
Like we can't put lipstick on a pig. No. Although that's actually a lie. You can.
Yeah. But yeah, I recommend it. Go see it with your buddies. Have a fun time, but it's not very good.
Oh no, it's the best movie I've seen all year.
Is this the only movie you've seen so far this year?
Yeah.
Let's try that again.
Whatever, this will work. I don't give a
Let's try that again.